Thanks to Fabletics for sponsoring this video. More on them in a moment. Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and last month's trailer for DC Studios' Superman broke all kinds of records as one of the most watched trailers of all time. And since we broke it down shot by shot that week, upon rewatching the trailer, we found 20 more details that we missed the first time that I wanted to share with you all because they are super interesting and just show how much attention to detail is going into this movie. And before we begin, New Rockstars now has a channel membership where you can just hit the join button down by subscribe and get access to custom emotes, and in a new support tier that we just launched, access to select breakdowns completely ad-free. No ad breaks from YouTube, no internal brand plugs, no creepy weird shit floating around me, just the content. And we will be doing this for special rewatch breakdown series like the Christopher Reeve Superman films that we will be doing later this year. We'll still release all of our content as normal here on the standard version of our channel, no changes at all, but this will just be something a little extra for supporters able and willing to help us out. Please and thank you. Okay, let's start with the opening shot of the trailer. Superman crash landing in the snow, giving us our first look at the new Superman suit for this film. In the last video, I talked about the Kingdom Come inspired chest S logo, as well as the Max Fleischer inspired yellow border on the chest shield, and just really in general, the all-star Superman inspirations on the red trunks, the particular shades of red and blue that we're seeing, and the yellow emblem on the back of the cape. But a couple other details I did not mention. The raised collar on Superman's suit comes from the New 52 relaunch design from artist Jim Lee. Now, a lot of readers at the time and since have not been that crazy about Lee's design from that era, finding a few of the visual elements maybe too busy and not really digging the Kryptonian nanotech elements wherein the suit would kind of emit from the shield on the chest, and that would justify how the raised collar could suddenly be part of the suit without it peeking out from under his Clark Kent clothes. But I gotta say, I kind of like the way the collar looks in live action here. It creates a bit of a claustrophobic effect on Kal-El, like he's still in uniform. He's always in uniform, and he's not able to breathe like he would be in the collar-less clavicle showing neckline of other suit designs. But also, second detail, the lines that we see on the suit here also came from Jim Lee's New 52 redesign. These lines were meant to be seam lines to convey that Kal-El's suit really was stitched together by Ma Kent from the baby blanket that he was wrapped in when he arrived to Earth. And the suit is not some like form-fitting mesh bodysuit that he just kind of like slips into. I always like this because the stitching is important. Every stitch is just a little bit of love from Ma. And since the trailer for this movie suggests that it might be Ma Kent, not Pa Kent, who dies in this film, I think we can never forget those stitches. Next detail, Superman's raised collar may indeed be hidden by this Clark's journalist suit, which is a size too big on purpose. And his tie is not straight as we see him pushing through the crowd on the sidewalk. And it's because the tie is not fitting snugly around his neck, as there is likely a blue collar of the Superman suit shoved underneath that white collar. Detail 4, the newspaper that Clark holds, which we also see being read by the cop in front of the Daily Planet building and by Jimmy Olsen inside. We actually acquired a high-def version of this front page, and the first thing to note, a correction from my last video, this image does not show Gorilla Grodd, but rather the metallic suit of a villain known in this movie as the Hammer of Baravia. The main headline is Hammer of Baravia creates havoc downtown, and beneath that, super-powered mystery man damages Metropolis. This is reflecting the political background of this movie, a war between the countries of Baravia and Jarhanpur. I talked about Baravia in the last video, and it looks like Baravia is aggressively invading Jarhanpur, creating a refugee crisis. Jarhanpur is also a fictional country in the DC Comics. It's a mystical land ruled by Rama Khan, and I think this refugee boy with a flag comes from the latter country. Also, on this high-def image, we can better see the article itself, and first off, it was written by Clark Kent himself, so as always, he's reporting on his own actions as Superman. And the text of the article reads as follows: Metropolis was targeted by a superpowered mystery man on Sunday, resulting in over $20 million in damage to the city. The self-titled Hammer of Baravia attacked downtown Metropolis, claiming it was retribution for the recent political interventions in Baravia by Superman. This vengeful expedition turned into a terrorist assault on American soil, hospitalizing 22 Metropolis citizens. Baravia has been the source of numerous headlines worldwide in recent weeks as it invaded its neighboring country, Jarhanpur, only for the brief war to be swiftly ended by Superman. The president of Baravia, Vasil Glarkos, maintains the Hammer of Baravia is not a representative of the national government, but rather an independent vigilante. So that gives us quite a bit of context of what is happening in the opening act of the movie, and those 22 dead Metropolis residents might be related to the people who are rioting and throwing throwing cans of produce at him. There's also another headline visible on this paper: more than 50 tornadoes confirmed during recent outbreak. So if this was caused by some weather controlling villain, Mark Martin is also known as the weather wizard, but it could just be a natural occurrence, and maybe Ma Kent died in one of those tornadoes. In fact, maybe Superman was so busy with the Hammer of Baravia that he couldn't be in two places at once to save people in the farmland from the tornadoes. I'm guessing that there's a bunch of people watching this video who made a New Year's resolution to get to the gym more. It's a great resolution, but to stick with it, you'll need some comfortable clothes purpose-built for working out. You'll need Fabletics. Fabletics makes clothes that are lightweight, breathable, and moisture-wicking. They've got sizes from XS to 4X with bold colors and neutral shades that go with everything. And thanks to the Fabletics VIP program, you don't have to break the bank to fill your closet. The VIP program gives you 80% off your first order, plus up to 50% off all day, every day on all products. Plus, every month you can use your member credit to redeem a 2-piece set or any product up to $100. It's very flexible. You can choose to shop or skip each month between the 1st to the 5th. And that's in addition to access to VIP only sales, personalized outfit recommendations, free access to the Fabletics Fit app, and monthly drops. Fabletics wants to help you stick to your resolution and make going to the gym as comfortable as can be. To get some Fabletics clothing of your own and sign up for their free VIP program, just click on the link in the description below. Okay, next detail. Back to this shot of Superman broken in the snow. Before it cuts to the extreme close-up of his eye, you can see a little teardrop from his right eye as his lips are trembling. Now, our eyes will tear up for all kinds of reasons. Injury, extreme cold, just, thinking about TV too hard sometimes. But I think this moment is right after an emotional defeat with Kellex in the Fortress of Solitude. Like, this looks like the tear of perhaps losing one of his links back to the memory of Krypton. All right, detail number 9. In this wide shot of the Daily Planet newsroom, Clark passes a desk that has a Superman mug on it. So within the Daily Planet newsroom, Superman has some fan, and based on the fact that he was just passing back Bennett as Steve Lombard, I wonder if Steve might be a Superman fan, which is kind of ironic with him yelling at Clark here. Okay, 2 details here. In this shot from the teaser promo, there are actually 2 fun cameos of other Daily Planet employees played by Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel's grandsons, Michael Larson and James Larson. Michael is in the orange shirt behind Beck Bennett and behind Jimmy Olsen, and James is behind Michael wearing the glasses and the tie. It seems like everyone in this movie is going to be someone important, and that's how special the movie is to the legacy and the history of the Superman character. Next detail, in the shot of Lois in the Daily Planet newsroom, on the bottom half of her newspaper, you can actually see a photo of one of those 50 tornadoes mentioned in the lower headline. And I wonder if that's the scoop that Jimmy Olsen got, and he was annoyed that Clark bumped this domestic story with his interesting scoop on the Hammer of Baravia. Next detail, I gotta admit, I did not catch this before, but a lot of you pointed this out to me. On Clark's news desk is a jar of peanut butter, which is a reference to the jar of peanut butter in Clark's first apartment in Superman for All Seasons. The attention to detail of this movie is incredible. Another new detail many of you are pointing out, when Superman saves the little girl from the exploding water tanks that were stepped on by the kaiju, the framing looks a lot like the shot of Clark from the Smallville intro when he saves the boy. The boy who probably in his head was like, "Somebody save me! Somebody save me!" And someone does. James Gunn is buds with Michael Rosenbaum, as we all wish we were, and Gunn and David Cornsweet made no apologies in citing Smallville as a tonal influence on their take on Clark. Next, this shot of Luthor Corp Tower with the engineer walking across the bridge that connects to the towers. I think the idea is that the center part of this bridge is Lex's executive boardroom and penthouse office. You can actually see some top execs of Luthor Corp sitting at a conference table inside. So I think the idea is that Lex, this way, can keep one half of Luthor Corp sort of siloed away from the other half, and that everything at the company has to go through his office. Now, I know corporations' workspaces don't literally work that way with the architecture, but I think design-wise, this kind of speaks to the egomaniacal psychology of how he runs his company. Next detail, I spent a lot of time talking about Superman punching through this glassy container and the theory of how this could be part of Brainiac's containers, but I also pointed out how there seems to be reflections, at least, of Metamorpho in the cells on both sides of Superman, but now I realize that Metamorpho is probably also standing right behind Superman in this cell, and someone out there pitched a theory that Metamorpho might be photosynthesizing some solar radiation to empower Kal-El to be able to escape. Also, in the cell to the right of Superman, in front of Metamorpho, is a different person, a woman in a short skirt, and that might be Sapphire Stagg, the daughter of Simon Stagg and the love interest to Rex Mason, aka Metamorpho. Number 18, and the shot of Superman in the lobby of Stagg Industries when he's met by Green Lantern Guy Gardner, Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, and Kendra Saunders, Hawk Girl. I have to apologize because I was initially rationalizing these other metahumans roles in this movie movie as kind of just incidental cameos to establish other metahumans existing in this world so that Superman wasn't the only superhero. But now, thinking more about this movie and reading James Gunn's interviews, I really do think that it's worth exploring more of these a lot more, because I don't think James Gunn just picked them randomly. I think he cares a lot about these characters and wants to explore certain aspects of them. So let's start with Hawkgirl, played by Isabella Merced in this film. It will be Kendra Saunders from the 1999 reintroduction of the character, where Kendra was a young Hispanic woman, later clarified to be Cuban, who took her own life. And when Kendra's soul left her body, the soul of her great aunt, like her grandfather's first cousin, Shira Hall, the Hawkgirl of DC's Golden Age, that soul entered Kendra's body, which makes Kendra what's called in the DC continuity a walk-in, where an original soul attached to a body is left and a new soul kind of comes in and possesses it. Originally, this era of Hawkgirl wore bandages on her arms as a reference to the self-harm, and that feature went away over the years, but you do see this movie's Hawkgirl wearing bracers of some kind, so I wonder if they're going to bring that back. Now, while her armor, her tech, and her mace weapon are made of the Thanagarian nth metal, she is not herself Thanagarian. I'm sorry, I messed that up in the past video. But Kendra Hawkgirl is such a cool, interesting, rich character. There's all kinds of cool things to explore. Despite a messy relationship with the Hawkman of her time, she does not perceive her life to be controlled by fate, which I think might give her something interesting in common with this movie's Mr. Terrific. So Eddie Gathegi in this movie plays Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, who was born a genius, has received 14 PhDs, and is an Olympic athlete, but he suffered the tragic losses, losing in childhood a mentally challenged older brother, and later lost his wife and unborn child after arguing with his wife about whether or not to go to church because he doesn't place faith in the supernatural. And you can imagine interesting conversations between that version of Mr. Terrific and Kendra Hawkgirl, right? But yeah, Mr. Terrific is a self-made millionaire from a tech company called Cyberware, and in addition to his T-spheres, his T-shaped mask is composed of nanites, which we can barely see in a close-up later in the trailer that shows the mask is just layered on top of his face, not painted on. Also, Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion in this movie, he was originally introduced as an alternate Green Lantern to Hal Jordan in 1968, but in the New 52 continuity and the recent era, his backstory was retconned to be like a former Baltimore police officer who was forced off the force due to some incident. And I feel like that's the take James Gunn is exploring with Nathan Fillion playing the character. And really, with all three of these characters, there are just some really cool backstories that could get explored in this film that might all involve tragedies of some kind. And I think James Gunn wants to focus on how these three heroes define themselves by those tragedies in that specific perspective of the world and their role in it, and how that contrasts Kal-El in this movie. All right, next, perhaps the most interesting new detail that we found. A lot of people are talking about this online. The shot of Kelix's broken body as Superman cradles it in the Fortress of Solitude. Many online are saying that you could see a reflection of Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, in Kelix's metallic head, which is interesting because Supergirl has not been anywhere else in this trailer. James Gunn has not even outright confirmed that Millie Alcock's Supergirl will be in this movie, but we're pretty sure she will be. The Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film is starting production in the coming weeks, with Jason Momoa being recast as Lobo, and that movie is coming out in June 2026. But James Gunn did say that he showed the trailer to an actress not yet confirmed to be in the Superman film, and that actress cried, and I think he was referring to Millie Alcock. And in the reflection on Kelix's head, you can see someone with blonde hair, and for a moment I actually thought that might be Eve, Lex's assistant, because we do know that Lex and the Engineer and Ultraman will be here in the Fortress as well, but I think you can also see what might be a chest emblem on that figure. So I think it really might be Kara. Meanwhile, this metallic head does reflect a couple other shapes on the right of it, and that might be Lex with his group. Okay, lastly, this detail was commented on our breakdown from user Prazanth9999. The trailer starts with Superman plummeting down and it ends with him rising up. Poetic trailer cut. I completely agree. Great observation. The composition of this trailer itself is its own work of art, and I think that's the reason why it stayed trending on YouTube throughout the holidays. From the music sampling the John Williams Superman anthem, but doing it in the melodic style of Harold Faltermeyer's Top Gun theme, to the near lack of dialogue in the trailer. Think about it. We do not know how Lex Luthor sounds yet in this movie, or what voice Kal-El will be using to portray Clark Kent. And I feel like we already know a lot about these characters, but I'm excited to meet this whole other side of them. Okay, comment down below, subscribe to New Rockstars, and again, please hit that join button to support this channel as a member. You can follow me at EA Voss. Thanks for watching, and I know a lot of you have been asking for Creature Commandos breakdowns. Obviously, we feel passionate about the DC universe and everything James Gunn is trying to do. We're gonna break down all the episodes of season 1 in one video that comes out next week, Thursday, January 9th. Thanks for your patience, and I can't wait to talk about that show with you. All right, see you next time. Bye.